model car fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Rao, and this week I want to feature one of my restoration builds here. Well, technically not a muscle car, it's a beautiful car, and I wanted to show you this one this week. This is a 1960 Edsel Ranger convertible. Very rare car. If you know the story on Edsel, it's kind of a doomed from the start kind of deal. They're interesting cars, and this one is actually my favorite, the 60, and I just really like the way they look, especially when I seen one actually in person. But I knew a little bit about the Edsel story when they announced them in September of '57, and then pushed the 58 models out. But it was a recession year, and it was a rough year for all of the car manufacturers. But they introduced the car, and it had a lot of weird quirks and a lot of styling things that were pushing the envelope for back then. And one of them was the horse collar grille, is what most people call it. And that's kind of an interesting feature, but it's liked and not liked. There was a lot of styling studies that came out that people didn't really like it, and they thought it looked kind of funny. And there was actually one of the articles that I read, some people referenced it to women's private area, to be kind of polite. I mean, this channel isn't for children, but woman's anatomy, I'll say it that way. So it's like, okay. So, you know, that was a big styling thing that a lot of people had some issues with. And there were a lot of weird quirks with the car too, with some unusual engine options and features, like the shift push buttons in the steering column right in the center where the horn would go. And some people actually hitting those, and you know, out of habit hitting the horn, but actually would pop it into neutral, or at worst case scenario hit reverse. So there's some stories of that too. So that feature didn't last. So there was a lot of quirky ideas that went along with it. But well, that was the 58 models, which surprisingly I have not built the AMT 58 kit, and I don't have an annual, but I do have the 59 and this 60. The 60 models, they had the 59s, and then they had 2 real bad years of sales. They didn't meet any of the projections. So for 1960, they toned it down a little bit, toned the styling down a little bit, and in my opinion, it's a beautiful styling on these. Once I saw what these, but they're more forward. They cut into the sales at the same time, so they put too much forward into it, blended it too much. So there's a lot of the same stuff and a lot of styling. You look at the car and you can see the Sunliner styling right in it, because it is based off the Sunliner, and there's not a whole lot to it. Matter of fact, these convertibles are so rare that people have taken Sunliners and modified them into convertibles, by, you know, changing some of the sheet metal out in the hood and some of those features. And another thing that's kind of interesting is I really like this grille setup and the way it's kind of shaped and everything. But there's a lot of, you look at that front end, and maybe I'll post in a picture of it. You move the headlights out a little bit and put the turn signals in the bumper, and look at the 59 Bonneville. It's literally the same. So I'll snake a picture of a 59 Bonneville, and I'll post it in here as well, so you can kind of see that, you know, some people say it stole the styling, but I really don't think so. And you know, the same thing with the molding down the side. But to me, it's just a beautiful fin style, and I really like the taillights on these, even though, you know, backup lights were kind of an option. So I've seen some with the backup lights, which is how I did on this one. Most of them just have the red taillights. So being that I wasn't really sure what was correct, and then the actual kit really doesn't have taillights or lenses, so that's just paint. But some of the other things that's kind of interesting is they also kind of toned them down in the options department. So the standard engine was the 292 cubic inch Y motor, which is the earlier motor. And that was the standard motor, and you can get it with an automatic or a 3-speed manual. You could step up to the more powerful FE 352 300 horse motor, which was basically the Thunderbird Special, but they called it something else. And They also had the Economy 6. So if you were economy minded, you could step down into the 6-cylinder for this car. Kind of interesting that they did all of that. Another thing, since the production was cut so short, the 60 models are very rare. Basically, they came out in September of 59, and then by, what's the date on it? Refer to my notes here. It was on November 19th of 1959. So it was literally 7 weeks, maybe, we'll say 8 weeks of production. Ford had canceled all Edsel cars, the production of all Edsel cars. So for 1960, there was like 2,800 cars made. So this is actually the rarest one. They made 74 Edsel convertibles, which now makes it, you know, very desirable, and also very hard to restore, even though it's just a sheet metal. The rest of it can come right from the Sunliner, as far as the mechanicals and stuff, because there really isn't anything different. And there is no specific 1960 hubcap. They put the 58 hubcaps on them. They put the 59 hubcaps on them. There really is no 60 hubcap for the Edsel. So for a car that they basically made 7 weeks, they're very rare, so you really don't see them. So one of the things that inspired me on this one, especially the color, was I was at a Good Guys car show here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was just referencing my photos and stuff, and I found the photos. It was back in 2012. There was a lowered 60 Edsel convertible. It was pretty sweet. It wasn't a real convertible, but it was a real 60 Edsel. They took a 2-door hardtop and cut the roof off and made a speedster out of it, and they did a wonderful job. And it was pretty much this color. And I had one of these that I was going to restore, and I was looking at it, and I really didn't have all the parts. It was one I had collected, but I hadn't gathered everything. And I eventually gave up on that one and sold that one and ended up buying this one and just used a few parts. So stay to the end. I'm going to post a bunch of my photos. I don't have a whole lot of the actual build, but of the 2 cars I started with, and then a middle of the road. Because the one I got, the interior was spray painted with some sort of gold paint that crazed it really bad. So once I stripped the paint off of the interior, I could see some heavy texture. It was really bad. And I eventually bought this interior tub, I believe, separate from, you know, a parted out car that was parted out on eBay. So I'd gotten a really good interior tub. I had everything else. It had all the body emblems. The rest of the body was really good. But the back here, where the Edsel is, it was crazed really bad, and I couldn't save the Edsel lettering. I had sanded it and kept the contour and regrooved the trunk line and right around. But I believe I got pictures of before I started that, and then I got it in primer, where that body's in primer, and the newer interior tub's in it. So I got a picture of the early interior tub and the newer interior tub. And then, as happens with some of these, you know, I kept my eyes open, and I ended up with another one that was, most of the body wasn't painted, but the sides were painted blue, and across the back was blue. But the chrome was much worse, and I had already had the chrome redone on this. The missing parts ordered from Model Haas, and I had gotten a convertible boot, and then ended up buying this other car that had the convertible boot, had an excellent body, an excellent interior. And and between the two, I built this one. I used that body, one of the 2 interior tubs, I don't remember which one, and then the primed one, it was missing the emblems on the back, and I was half tempted to sand it smooth, slam it down, put some big wheels on it, have some fun with that. And I ended up turning around, and I ended up selling that one. Put it up on eBay and sold it. But and then picked up a 59 to do as well. But I had some fun with it, and I really enjoyed building this one. So it's really, I really don't know if this is a stock color, but I had some fun with it. It's a 1960 annual. The funny part is, you know, when it comes to these, the real car, the subject, is extremely rare. When it comes to the model kit, the hardtop seems to be the hard one to find. The convertibles you can find. I mean, they're hard to find, But the convertible is much easier to find than the hardtop. And I really like convertibles, so it was fine with me. I desired the convertible, so that's what I got is convertibles. Haven't really gone for a hardtop, but I decided I was going to, when I do the interior, I just did it black with silver inserts, kind of basic, but just to match it up, and just painted the dash and the interiors. I like how there's a clutch pedal, but I mean, if it was a manual, it'd be a 3 on the tree, but there's no shifter on that steering wheel. But I just simply painted it and detailed it out and enjoyed building it. And nothing real fancy, just a lot of foil work and just detail work. And then Model Haas wheels and tires, so that's their tires. And then, there's nothing on the underside. It's all molded. This is how the kit is, screw bottom chassis. But you can see I just detail painted the exhaust and the leaf springs. Had to paint the oil filter. I didn't bother painting the oil pan. And I believe on these, the block and everything was black, and the valve covers were like a dark green. But the engine itself was pretty much black. A lot of the motors back then were painted black in 1960, and they had just different color valve covers. Ford really didn't switch to the blue engines until 65 or 66. Trying to remember on that one. I'm pretty sure it was 66. 65 and older, they were pretty much black engine blocks, but there's some exceptions in that. But that's kind of the research I like to look into and to do. But this is was a fun build for me and kind of an unusual subject. But I figured I would show you guys this one. You guys probably enjoy it, especially since you seem to like some of the mainstreamers. This one, just a rare kit to find nowadays. But they're out there and they're not real expensive, or at least they weren't when I was looking for them. I did finish this one in 2016, I believe. Yeah, 2016, and I've shown it a few times, and it's just it came out beautiful, and I'm really happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for subscribing and tuning in and sharing my content, and any of your comments. I really do appreciate them. So thank you. You guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you next Saturday.